This pyramid should not exist where it is. Not because it's small, not because parts of it appear unfinished, but because the ground beneath it actively works against everything ancient Egyptian builders usually tried to avoid. A sloping plateau, a nearby flooded channel, and one of the most difficult locations to stabilize on the entire Giza Plateau. And yet, the site was chosen deliberately, which forces an uncomfortable question. Was this a planning failure? Or are we misreading the logic behind one of Giza's most overlooked pyramids? To understand the problem, we need to step back to the earliest detailed surveys of Giza. In 1837, British engineer John Perrin created one of the first systematic plans of the plateau, oriented with east at the top. The map immediately reveals something striking. Menkaure's pyramid sits at the southwestern edge of the Moqattam limestone formation. Beyond that edge, the ground collapses into a broad west-east wadi. This wasn't a minor depression. It was a natural drainage channel capable of violent sensual flooding. And crucially, Menkaure's Valley Temple lies directly downstream, southeast of Menkaures monument. At this point, it becomes difficult to argue coincidence. The builders could see the wadi. They understood water behavior. They had centuries of architectural precedents. So the real mystery isn't whether the terrain was risky, it's why the risk was accepted. Zooming further into Perrin's plan, Menkaure's complex comes into focus. We see the pyramid temple, portions of causeway, and 3 subsidiary pyramids aligned along the southern side, originally misnumbered by Vice. These are now known as G3A, G3B, and G3C. But here is the detail that matters. These smaller pyramids sit noticeably lower than the main pyramid, which tell us something critical. The builders were not working on a prepared level platform. They were interesting a monumental structure into an already compromised landscape. The Giza Plateau slopes into 2 directions, west to east, north to south. This means Menkaure's builders faced a double problem. According to Maraggiolio and Rinaldi, the solution was extreme. The pyramid's foundation was created partly by cutting directly into bedrock and partly by building massive limestone terraces. In the northwest corner, entire sections of rock were removed. The quarry trenches measured around 70 centimeters wide, with blocks averaging 3 meters by 2.5 meters. This wasn't a casual quarrying, it was large-scale terrain surgery. And that level of effort, suggesting something important, was at stake. So the question becomes, what made this exact location worth correcting at such a cost? At the opposite corner, the northeast, the channel flipped. Instead of cutting down, the builders had to build up. Here, terraces over 3 meters high were constructing using multiple courses of limestone. As you move south along the pyramid's edge, the terracing gradually decreases. This tells us something subtle but important. The builders weren't following a uniform blueprint. They were responding dynamically to the terrain. Many leveling blocks were marked with red guideline and triangular symbols, clear indicators of precision leveling. This wasn't improvisation. It was calculated correction, unless elevation itself was intentional. Here is where the story becomes genuinely strange. Bearing records that the base of Menkaure Pyramids sits 12.68 meters above the base of the Great Pyramid. It even stands higher than Khafra's pyramid. That's unexpected, because if monumentality were the goal, elevation shouldn't matter this much. Unless high above sea level, not size, carried meaning, symbolic, ritual, or related to visibility, drainage, or processional roads. And this raises another uncomfortable possibility. What if Menkaure wasn't trying to compete with his producer by deliberately break from them? Now consider the Valley Temple again. Placed dangerously close to the wadi, it appears almost vulnerable by design. Flooding here would have been catastrophic unless the builders expected or planned for controlled water flow. Ancient Egyptian architecture is full of examples where water was not just feared but managed and ritualized. So again, we're left asking, was this poor planning or planning based on priorities we no longer fully understand? So, we arrive at two competing explanations. The first is practical. Menkaure inherited limited space, political pressure, and an already crowded plateau. This site was a compromise. The second is more unsettling. This site was chosen precisely because of its challenges. Elevation, water proximity, and terrain may have carried symbolic or functional meaning, now lost to us. And depending on which explanation accept, Menkaure's pyramid stops being a failure of planning and starts becoming a statement. The smallest pyramid at Giza may pose one of the largest questions, not about construction technique, but about intent. Because sometimes what looks like a mistake from a modern perspective is simply evidence that we are still missing part of the ancient logic. And Menkaure's pyramid may be quietly remind us of that.